Welcome to the Takeoff Podcast, the go-to construction podcast for construction professionals seeking inspiration, education, or motivation for the next steps in their career. Each Monday, you'll be joined by me, Mick, Donaghy, Managing Director of Gedden Executive Recruitment and a respected name from the industry. A construction leader, a business owner, or someone in the thick of the action. The whole premise of this podcast is for you to get something from it. An idea, a connection, a mentor, whatever it is, I hope you get it. And I hope you enjoy the show. Without further ado, let's get into it. One thing that we're noticing this year, not this year, but just in general, there's a massive influx of candidates coming in from overseas, right? And a lot of people who listen to this podcast will know that I'm a big advocate, and I try and do as much as I can to help those who maybe are coming from different places in globally, whether that's
do you work for the
India,
UN?
China, Sri Lanka. I feel like it sometimes, but like truthfully, I actually looked at it last night to see how many. I just cleared all my, connection requests.
Yeah.
Right. And so I cleared them all last night at about midnight. Right. And I woke up this morning and
You're a bundle of fun.
there was 15 people connected with me, and so there's a lot of these people are in Australia, have moved to Australia and are looking for work, or have moved maybe where they were working in Dubai or Qatar or Middle East, and they were in amazing jobs in the Middle East, and they've come to Australia and went, I can't get a job here at all, and are working in what they would maybe consider a crap job.
Yep.
And then there's others that are maybe offshore and trying to get to Australia. And so there's so many different aspects to this that is really difficult, because there's obviously we want to help people, but our job isn't effectively, we're not a charity in that respect, in terms of we're offering all this free advice and free services and trying to help just place people into jobs. Like, of course we want to do that, but effectively our client, who is the employer, will come to us and say, we're looking for someone with this type of skill set. And quite often they're paying us a premium, they're paying us a fee, because they want us to find them someone with local experience.
Yeah.
And I'd say 99% of the jobs we'll work on will say we want local experience.
Yeah.
Now the migrants coming in will say, yeah, but I have 20 years experience overseas, right? And so I don't know if we were speaking, it was me and you were speaking, or someone else, but it's kind of, once you've got your first few years and of doing that crappy work, you'll most likely at that point get an opportunity that's maybe worth something.
Yeah.
And that's when all of that track record, all that 15, 20 years comes into play at that point. So there was someone recently who messaged me probably like 2 or 3 days ago, and I went back to have a look at his messages and how many times he'd messaged me, and I counted, and he's messaged me 58 times, right?
Oh my God.
And I've messaged him back 5 times.
That's a stalker.
To say, hey, listen, I can't help,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, our clients are looking for something different, or, you need a visa in place. But he's messaged me 58 times, so there's nearly like a bit of desperation in some extent, that people are so desperate to get work in Australia. They've spent so much money.
Yeah.
And what can employers do? What can we do to maybe help, apart from stuff like this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure everyone will be looking for an absolute blanket answer or blanket response, but it obviously is difficult. And you're competing against the next person as well that's in the exact same situation as you, with 15, 20 years. They think that their experience warrants them a chance to get in the door. I mean, a lot of people will come across and they'll do the master's degree as well, which, obviously recognise local universities and things like that, which can help. But I think it's the same everywhere. I mean, if we were to go to if Irish and English come to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, there's an element of you need to take a step back and get familiar with the market that you're working in, and it may just be being able to stomach that and thinking, let me get that middle of the road job that they might see, get a couple of runs on my belt, get familiar with it, with where I'm working before we get back to where we were. And sometimes I think there's a lot of people that just want a job, like that guy who messaged you 58 times. You know, he's just a guy who really wants a job. But there is some people that have that, you know, they won't settle for anything that's not exactly what they had before.
Yeah, there's an ego quite often, and I don't want to like over.
Ego's not a bad word.
Yeah, and it's not, but there's also like, there's definitely trends and common themes that you get amongst different types of people, right? And so I think everyone after a while will come to a conclusion themselves that, oh, I realize now after trying for 6 months to get the position that I want that I'm not going to get it. What happens is they'll reach out to me or you straight away, say within the first week of their search, and we'll give them that information straight away. So say we'll say, oh, you're a director of a big company in South Africa. Truthfully, that means nothing in Australia. And so what are you in Australia? Maybe a QS. And they're saying, well, no, I actually manage 20 QSs and I'm a director and I'm a shareholder and all this sort of stuff. And you go, fine, that's fine. But you're coming to me for the advice.
Yeah.
So the advice that we're giving you is fact. It's
yeah, because you best believe if we could get you a job in the next week, we would do it. Yeah. You know, we would do it. Yeah. And I think, we do have a lot of those conversations where people get a little bit, they get pissed off at us for telling them exactly how it is. And it's not like we want to deliver this message that your 20 years experience really doesn't hold a whole lot of weight here. It holds some. Yeah. And they get pissed off at us. And we're the bad guys, you know. It's almost like we're the gatekeepers for our clients when it's actually not. We're trying to enable, we're trying to get people in, but the reality of it is we have an assignment and a task, and you don't fit within that. At this time. But
when they do get pissed off of us, so quite often I'll just go try yourself and come back. Yeah, and even this is the thing though, that you will get. So there's a whole range of different types of people come from different parts of the world. You know, the big common, I guess, themes of people relocating will be, one, India's massive, right? Huge. You have Sri Lanka, which is really big in quantity surveying. You have got South Africa, which is really big in quantity surveying. You have got UK and Ireland, which would be more sort of general. You have Iran is big in estimating, massive in estimating, civils. They, as just a blanket, would be the real sort. Well, obviously China as well, which would be big. Yeah. Now, my interpretation of this is the Chinese will come over to a degree and get maybe a construction management or a construction practice degree, and then they're quite happy to go and just sort of like prove themselves. Yeah. That's what I've noticed, right? Like South African, UK, Irish, they're like, nah. Right, guys, so I'm absolutely pumped to say the Takeoff podcast is proud to be sponsored by RIB Software, the company behind some of the leading estimating software in the entire planet, including Costex, Candy, CX, and more. So firstly, if you didn't know, RIB are a powerhouse at providing innovative software solutions to the construction and engineering markets. They have over 500,000 users globally, are known universally as a solution provider for your entire project lifecycle, from planning to construction and beyond. RIB solutions help to ultimately connect people, processes, and data, so your project comes within budget, on time, and to the quality desired, all whilst reducing your business's carbon footprint. All this stuff matters, and RIB has the solutions. So if you're interested in finding out more, get on over to rib-software.com, reach out to your local team and quote Takeoff Podcast. For every listener who buys a subscription of RIB Costex, they will provide one free online training course. Okay, guys, back to the episode. Yeah, I want this. Better. I want a step up. I want more. Right? And quite often, I'm going, no. Yeah. You need to realize that your experience isn't what the Australian experience is, and They will argue with you. They'll argue with you flat out.
Yeah.
I've got this. I've got this.
Do you know
I've done this.
Do you know who the worst are?
Who?
Irish.
Yeah, probably.
When they speak to us though, because I feel like they can maybe they think that we resonate with them, and of course we do.
Yeah.
Because we've had to come here as well. But again, when we give them the feedback, it's like you spat in their face. It's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm coming over here and I'm supposed to take a little bit less. You're like, well, yeah.
But I'm probably going to post about this in the next couple of weeks or so. But if you're relocating, right? And I don't mind if you're saying in the UK or Ireland and you're relocating to the US, or if you're from anywhere in the world and you're moving to Australia, there needs to be more reason than moving for salary. Because if you're moving for salary, go to Saudi, go to Dubai, and
go to Dublin.
Yeah, but if you're quite often, what happens is you'll get a guy who's maybe from India, Sri Lanka, has moved to Qatar, Dubai, has been earning amazing salary for 10, 15 years, paying 5% tax. And then they come to Australia and their expectations generally just shatter. Yeah. Because one, they're paying around 30% tax. Their lifestyles aren't as good. And, they may have an opportunity for permanent residency, but they're still having to maybe go back to what they were doing 5 years ago and reprove themselves. And so their whole concept and experience is like really tarnished, where and that's the thing. I think there needs to be a reality check. We've got people who have PhDs driving Ubers. Yeah. You've got, I remember an Uber driver picked me up and he was like, this is no word of a lie. He's like, my degree's in nuclear science. And you're like, how are you sitting driving Ubers?
You feel like a fraud, don't you?
You genuinely feel like a fraud. And quite often, it's not your technical experience that gets you places in, say, Australia or New Zealand. It's your communication skills. It's your ability to build networks. It's your ability to talk to people. That's what's nearly more important. Yeah. And having 10 letters after your name doesn't mean a dime in Australia. It doesn't mean a single thing.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
I had a conversation recently with a girl who recently came to Australia, and legend, great girl. She had 5 year experience back home as a QS, and she called me up looking at advice. She'd been offered. She'd been in the country something like 12 days, and she'd been offered 160 package for a big QS firm in Australia, and she turned it down. Yeah. And I said to her that I'd spoken to someone just the day before with 15 years Australian experience who was on 145. And I was like, you don't know you're born. Yeah. Turned it down.
But the reason why she was offered that is because she was so specialist in one area, and so that one area is a big growth area within Australia. Yeah. So with areas that you've got, where the growth areas are like energy, renewables, sustainability, data centers, cloud infrastructure, they're the big growth areas. So if you've got experience in one of those areas, and you've maybe worked for global businesses, then yes, you'll come in and you'll do really well, and you'll get offers off the back of that. But if you're coming in and say you were building highways and roads in Qatar, or you were building say multi-story high-rise luxury condominiums, or you call them apartments in Dubai, it's just not specialist enough. And so you're literally competing with, I think, hundreds. Like, truthfully, in the last couple of days, I'm just gonna shoot like a shout out here how many messages I've got from people who are either in Australia or planning on coming to Australia, and they're all effectively, chartered QSs. Yeah. Like, I'm talking maybe 50 messages in the last 3 days. 50 different people. Yeah. And like, I just can't even read them. Like, I'm literally not even able to read them.
I know. But they're competing against everyone in the same boat as them that's trying to break into the market. plus everyone that's already here.
Yeah.
That are looking for the same jobs as well.
This is the thing that people don't understand. There's people in Australia that cannot get work, or if they might be able to get work, but say this is a typical example, complete typical example. Indian, Sri Lankan, Chinese guy, or even wherever you are in the world, will come to Dubai, Qatar, because that was the big World Cup 2022, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Guys, I'm interrupting this podcast today to give you some information as to what I actually do every single day. So I own and operate a business called Get In Executive Recruitment. We're a specialist boutique recruitment company, and we specialize purely in the pre-construction and commercial construction markets globally. We're really well known, respected for our work in estimating, cost management, quantity surveying, and contract administration. Because we're hyper niche, we don't have millions of candidates. We don't really even have thousands, but more times than not, we have the right candidate for the right job at the right time. Unlike a lot of recruitment agents out there, we are super experienced in what we do. We understand the market, we understand what makes our clients tick, and our candidates tick too. Each and every single assignment we work on undergoes an extensive executive search process. It's robust and it works 100% of the time. We've also got a team of 5 researchers who map our markets out globally within our niche. They're amazing. They allow us to work fast, which saves our clients time and money too. So if you're interested in our process, drop us a message. Now back to the episode. Huge development, Dubai, massive development, right? Then they come to Australia, get their PR offshore, come to Australia, literally no one cares.
Yeah.
No one gives them a chance at all.
No.
And so they'll go work for like a dry linings company or a waterproofing company, or they'll go work for a company that specializes in flooring. And for them, that is like the ultimate step down.
Yeah.
Like they will go, I was working for a developer who was building the
$1 billion
biggest
hotel, casino.
hotels, casinos, and all the rest, right? And then they come and they go, well, actually, now I'm having to work for like a glazing company. There was a guy, Ahmed, shout out to Ahmed, absolute legend. I met his whole family and he took me out for lunch one day. He arrived during COVID, right? And so this guy, qualified engineer, master's in engineering, had spent like 15 years working for Layton's, right?
Yeah.
CPB.
In Asia.
In somewhere in Qatar, Dubai, or Middle East. And he had worked from like project engineer up to contract manager. And this was during COVID, right? So the borders, all the state closures were closed.
Yeah.
And so it was a nightmare trying to get work. And so he arrived and had PR, and I had the only job I had for him was for a glazing company, right? And I went through his CV, and I literally dumbed it all down. I took off all his degrees.
Yeah.
How insane is that? Wow. Because I know if I had because he had like a master's, and then he had like chartership. I took off his master's in chartership.
Yeah.
Right? I literally took him off his CV. And then I went from, he was called contract manager, and I think I changed it to contract administrator. Right? And so I got him in for an interview, and he was there for a year in the glazing company. And he took me out, his whole family, we had a big Turkish like dinner. It was great. And he took me out, and in that business, he excelled. He literally, they loved him. They haven't been able to replace him since he left.
Right, yeah.
But he left that glazing company and then went to a developer, and his salary went up 80K in 1 year, right? But that's because he went to the subcontractor and was like, this is crap, but I've applied for 100 jobs. Yeah. And actually, this is the one I need. This is what I'm going to get.
What a legend!
And now he's working. As like a contract manager for like a $5 billion project. But that's the thing. Like he went and took that real. He left his ego one side and went, I need to prove myself, and I'll work for a glazing company. Yeah. And now I'm a contract manager on one of the biggest civil infrastructure projects in Australia. So the strategy there's a strategy for getting work, right? Yeah. And the strategy is not being desperate, not sending 58 messages, but it is going, what I'm used to is not what I'm going to get. I'm not going to get that. And I'll tell a story about my own experience, right? I moved from Ireland to New Zealand. And New Zealand's very different to Australia because New Zealand's got a super small population. Yeah. And you can grow, I would say, twice as quick than you would in Australia.
Yeah.
Because it's just the limited population. They just don't have the people. As an example, I remember I placed a guy who was building staircases into a fit-out company as a project manager. Within a year, he was a project director. Literally just because the guy was 27, 28, big strapping guy, amazing communicator, and he knew his stuff. And so like clients just loved him. And so he could become a project director in a year. But I moved to New Zealand, became top biller in that company for 4 or 5 years, moved to Australia, and literally no one knew me, and I literally struggled to make ends meet. I was like, I literally went from top of the charts to literally not even on the chart.
Yeah.
I wasn't
not even getting called.
Not getting called, no one
emails.
spoke to, you getting told to piss off. Like I literally emailed people telling me to fuck off. They told me fuck off, and I should have kept them. I should have kept them and actually framed them.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
I would love to frame them. There was one guy I remember messaging me and goes, "I heard your company's on the skids." Like imagine messaging someone saying that. This is a competitor, by the way. Yeah. And I've always fucking hated him. To this day, he looks like a wee alien. He probably knows he is because there's only one alien-looking creature in Brisbane.
May not be listening to this podcast.
Hopefully
anyway.
it is. Hopefully it is. But there is such a honestly, what your expectation of coming to another country and what you receive is not reality. Your realities and your dreams will literally be chopped up, and this is so depressing. But it will be chopped up and chucked into the friggin' river. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is going to be some crack for somebody listening to this one, isn't it?
But it's
hope
true.
I forgot.
Because, like, as an example,
what I always say as well is, if that person that's looking for a role coming over here, what if it was your business, and every decision that you make is critical? Yeah, every hire that you make is critical, with margins being eroded year on year, like everything, the price of everything going up, even the likes of union. What if it was your business and you had to make a hire? Who are you going to pick? Someone that has the experience here, or someone that doesn't? It's an absolute no-brainer. And I think, yes, of course, it's frustrating, but how many of them think that way? And sometimes when we give that feedback to them, it's just like they don't want to hear it.
This is what I would do. And guys, I actually, when I started the Takeoff, it was called Made to Measure, right? 4 years ago, right? And I started the podcast because I literally had nothing to do. Now, in recruitment,
and still going,
you're either if you're not busy, then there's something wrong, right? Because you're either busy trying to get busy, or you're busy filling work. Yeah. Right? So like you never have a moment to relax. As soon as you relax, everything's gonna fall to pieces. But I didn't. The problem was at that time there was no clients hiring at all. I mean zero, right? And I didn't have any candidates, right? So I would basically go, how am I supposed to add value to the market? So I was just listening to people, effectively. I was talking to people, listening to people. I used to go in every Wednesday morning into this little cubicle in a shared office space I was renting at the time. And I would go from 8:30 or 9 o'clock through to lunchtime. And that was basically my eat shit day. Because I'm going to ring clients and just eat shit. Like, they're going to say to me, why the fuck are you ringing me? Yeah. And they did. Why the fuck are you ringing me? But you know what? What I actually realized from that time is that no one at the time was doing the calls. I was doing the calls. So you had these established players in the market who'd been there for 10 years who were going, well, this is a good opportunity for me just to spend time with my family and relax. Where I was going, I'm broke as fuck. Yeah. I need to be doing these calls. Yeah. So I'd smash out maybe 100 calls. Right, 100 dials, get hold of maybe 17 people. Yeah, but what the Aussies and Kiwis actually look at and they go,
they have a bit of respect, don't they?
They respect you. Yeah, they respect the hustle. Like, I hate that word; it's so grim.
The graft, though.
They would genuinely go, he's ringing me, knowing that I'm going to tell him to piss off. So I'm going to back him in 2 years' time. Because I know he's going to ring people for me when they're telling him to piss off, when candidates are telling you to piss off. Yeah. And so, you know what I mean? Like you're proving yourself. Like I can remember conversations right to this day. Like I remember speaking to like Mark Douglas from MCD, you know, and I mean, small company, and I remember like he was just sort of like laughing at me, going, "Mate, there's no way we have any work for you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, but I mean, I'm literally just trying to get my day in. Do you know what I mean? And like, and have we placed hundreds of people with him? No, but placed a couple, 2-3 people with him over the last few years. Yeah, add value to the business. So the reason I started to take off is just try and add value. But there's episodes genuinely way at the beginning where I literally show you how to get a job, and it goes as far as going. So if you're Irish, English, South African, Sri Lankan, Chinese, Indian, wherever, where I would start is going and connecting with people with similar backgrounds to you.
Yeah. Well, we're probably going to talk more about this, you know, either today or another episode about how we're hoping to launch something that will really impact these people that we're talking about.
Yeah,
and that's I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be really, really exciting stuff. And because there is certain things you can do other than messaging you 58 times or ringing me and getting annoyed. That's life. That's what the feedback in the market is. There is you know, loads of stuff that you can do until you get to that point when you are probably at desperate stages.
What we're going to do is we're going to launch an online training program, right, where we effectively take you through the process of getting a job yourself, because a recruiter won't get you a job.
Yeah.
Like when you're first arriving into the country, you're not going to get a job via a recruiter. It's virtually impossible, right? You have businesses out there that will say, like, in general, a generalist person won't get a job, right? They will get a job, but they will not get the job that they want. So it's effectively teaching them how to get a job and getting a foothold on the ladder, getting that first step up, because that first step up is like like Ahmed, 8 or 9 months down the road, gets an amazing job, nearly 100k pay rise. So like you've got to have the humility and show, you know, effectively that you're willing to go to those lengths to actually get the step up, you know. So we're going to teach everyone how to do this and building out this training platform. And so we're working on that at the moment. But what I would say is, if you're listening to this, go back to like the first 20-30 episodes of this, and they're called the Career Clinic. And one of the episodes, and no one's even ever spoken to me about this, but it was definitely the most powerful episode that I've had, that I've maybe put out there. And I remember it was in COVID, I had no work on, and I was literally recording this into my phone, basically going, this is what I would do. And one of the easiest things to do would be connect with people with similar backgrounds to yourself. So if you go, I studied at, you know, Hyderabad University, or I went to Harriet Watt University, or wherever it might be, look for people on LinkedIn with a similar background in that country with that university, right? That's one. Otherwise, similar cities or towns where you've grew up in and are working in the industry. Reach out to them for advice, and then start to build this network where you're the person in the middle, you know, and you've basically built a spider's web, an ecosystem of all these people that you know, and just start meeting them for coffee, meeting them, pay for their lunch, just get them out, pick their brain. Yeah. And what you'll find is you'll know no one to all of a sudden you know 30, right? And then all of a sudden that's quite powerful. So why don't you then turn that into the Indian Australian Construction Federation, the you know, Harriet Watt
overseas program,
the Harriet Watt Overseas Australian Connect, or whatever it might be.
Or we obviously the Sheffield one,
the Sheffield Hallam. You know, everyone's got the Sheffield Hallam degree. You know what I mean? So, like, I mean, that's a perfect example. The Sheffield Hallam construction people.
It would take over.
Mate, there'll be hundreds, and so, but all of a sudden you're connecting, right? And then you go to an interview, and the interviewer goes, "Yeah, but you have any network in Australia?" And you go, "Do I not?" Roll up the sleeves and go, "Well, look at this. I know John from Leighton's, and you know, all of a sudden you do have a network." Yeah. And all of a sudden you put 30 people in a WhatsApp group, How did you get involved? How did you get started? So like, there's all these different ways of actually building this out. But the main thing is having humility. You know, losing the ego, realizing what you made overseas is not what you're going to make here. And number one is, if you're relocating, do not relocate for money. There has to be another reason. Because if that's say purely career and money, and that's the only reason that you're moving, you're going to find that you're going to lead a life of not misery, but you're going to feel quite unfulfilled for a very long time. And it's unique to come from another country to Australia or New Zealand, get a job and go, this is everything I thought it was going to be, and I'm being paid really well, and I'm really enjoying life.
Yeah, rare.
It is rare, isn't it? Like, it's hard, but yeah, I think we've got to do something, and yeah, keep eyes out for that.
Looking forward to
online training program. It's going to help hundreds of people.
Before you go today, guys, I'm just going to ask you to do one thing. Can you please go to Apple right now or Spotify right now and just give us those 5 stars? Hit that 5-star button. It makes such a difference you wouldn't believe. The whole idea of this show is to inspire, educate and motivate our listeners. And we only do that if we're getting the best guests. The best guests want to see data. They want to see information. They want to see how many listeners that we get. And so all of this stuff is really, really important. So if you can just literally go and do that today, if you enjoy the show, just go and hit that 5-star button. It makes such a difference. I hope you've enjoyed the show. We're going to continue to push this out there every Monday. So if you can, hit that 5-star button. And if you can't, even share it with a friend. Go on to WhatsApp, flick it on to your crew. Guys, thank you so much for listening. On to next week.